You guys, I want to introduce to you my skincare expert, Natalia, Castille. Everyone wants to know, how in the world do I have the most gorgeous, beautiful skin? Yeah, thank you very much. I know. And it is because of her. Natalia Castille is my go-to skincare specialist. She takes care of me. And I'm telling you, you guys will love her. You will find her at the ACPS. It is the Aesthetic Center for Plastic Surgery. And if you really, really want to know more about them, you can visit them at their website, ACPS Plastic Surgery. It is a med spa that I love to go to. It's so easy just calling in and say, I need to set up an appointment for my facial with Natalia. And they take care of me immediately, in and out. They take care of skin rejuvenation. They do something called derma infusion. They do cool sculpting, and Natalia does all of that. She's also taking care of my laser needs. Like, she does laser reduction for me, and I swear to you, people say, oh, it's painful. She makes it so painless. Love, love, love her. So if you need to find out more about how you can get great skin, follow her at her Instagram, Natalia Castille, at Natalia Castille. You will not regret it. I will give you guys all the details, and she will take care of you. I promise you, she will do a great job for your skin. You will not regret it, and you will have the best skin of 2022. Happy to be back with you another day, another episode. So today we're going to be talking about thrifting and thrift fashion, something I'm very passionate about, something that I've been talking about in the past. And if you guys know me and follow me on social, especially on Instagram, I'm always posting fashion that's been thrifted, that's been resale, things that I find at different places. It is just the thing that I feel like it's the future of fashion, and I'm hoping that it'll get to the future of fashion. So it's whether thrift shopping, finding things in La Segunda, which is that's how it started for me. Today, I've invited my friend, Andrea Daniela, and she is a multifaceted woman if I've ever met one. Like, she is so multi-talented. She does music. She's a singer and also a writer. I just discovered you write music as well. A real estate agent.
And I work in commercial
real estate. Right. So we have that in common. My husband and I do that together. And so you're like one of those young women that I love to follow, because I know you're always doing something, and also part of the Houston Millennials group.
I actually recently stepped down as chair.
Okay, because I knew you were a leader on that.
I was
a
huge leader on the women's committee, because women empowerment is like such a passion of mine.
Huge.
I just was like running myself too thin with so many things. I'm still obviously committed to Houston Millennials, and whenever I can make it to the networking events, I'm going to be there. But I just had to take a break from being such a leader in the organization.
I understand that. I understand that. Welcome to the podcast, Daniela.
Thank you.
Welcome. And so tell my listeners just a little bit more about you, maybe a little bit about how you came to not just thrifting, because we're going to talk about that later, but just give us a little bit of like your bio.
Okay, perfect. So born and raised here in Houston, East End. I went to Le Guadalupe on navigation as a child and discovered my passion for performing at a very young age. My mom always made sure I was like on stage because she saw that drive in me.
Right.
So my background actually in performing started at Mecca, which is a very well-known program here in Houston for what they call at-risk youth, and discovered mariachi, discovered folklorico, and started taking violin classes. And I really was just such a hyper child that my mom wanted to put me in everything. So I was like the poster child for Mecca. I was in every single art area you can imagine.
Really? Did you do folklorico too?
I did folklorico. Yes, I competed in that.
Cool.
I did mariachi. I did vocal. I did guitar, I did piano, I did
It's
violin.
Another thing we have in common. I was a folklorico dancer too for 15, 16 years.
So that was actually, dance was actually my first passion.
So dance was your first passion.
Exactly. And from there I discovered being a musician. So that's when I started doing violin, mariachi, and it just evolved from there. I ended up going to
Amazing.
HSPVA, and HSPVA is where I actually discovered my passion for thrifting. Because HSPVA allows you to wear whatever you want to school. So
okay, so it was like no uniforms.
There's no
and
uniform.
You were used to uniforms because you went to Catholic school.
Exactly.
So it's very uniform going to a public school that doesn't require it.
Exactly. But everyone's so artistic at HSPVA. You know, it's a high school for performing and visual arts.
Yeah.
So it was in the heart of Montrose. Now they have this like new school in downtown that's like amazing. But the old location used to be in the middle of Montrose, and my friends started taking me to thrift stores in that area, Buffalo Exchange. And it started off more for stylistic reasons, you know. I wanted to embody that classic era, Audrey Hepburn, Jacqueline Kennedy. Right. I love that style. You can see this dress is thrifted actually. But soon realized the importance of it and why it was important for the environment.
True.
But it started off as really just the passion of the style. Was me trying to find these old vintage
pieces.
Clothes. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. That they don't get made as much anymore, right?
Exactly.
And they only exist in certain type of stores.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, I love that because, you know, for me, my story in thrifting started because we had to thrift. We didn't have money for like new clothes. So my mom would take us to La Segunda. She would take us to like garage sales. And that's where we started finding things. And like we were annoyed with her sometimes because she would take us to all of these different, you know, places. The Goodwill, the Salvation Army, and we were like so annoyed. But then we discovered that we would find like things that she could bring home, and like she would mend them, and she would make them different, and she would like tighten them up and like make them really sexy. And we were like, then we started getting really excited about thrifting, you know. And it was just like not just because we couldn't afford like new clothes. For me, it was like finding like a hidden gem, and like that's exciting. That's what thrifting makes me feel like super, super excited about, like finding that one thing. And my sister later on, when we were growing up as teenagers, we would go to these stores to look for the old Levi's.
Oh my goodness, those are still so popular.
Yes. And now, I mean, now that I look for them, you know, they're very expensive now and I don't have any more, but those were the pants that you wanted to go look for.
Wranglers and Levi's.
Wranglers and Levi's, and then the Guess. The Guess with the little triangle on the butt. Like, you needed to have that particular style. And, oh, my God, I can't, like, just when you find them, you're like, you scream. You're so excited. Then you hope that they're your size.
And the high-waisted, right?
High-waisted. They were high-waisted.
Because I remember I was wearing high-waisted even before high-waisted was a thing. I have pictures from high school, and I graduated in 2009. So I was already wearing high-waisted, like those long skirts, all these. And I remember my sister would always be like, you dress like a grandma. Why do you dress like a grandma? And I don't know, I just always loved the fashion from, you know, these other eras.
Right, and I feel like it's important to also have your own sense of individuality and style. And I feel like you developed that yourself. You created that for yourself. You saw a photo, you saw something maybe in Audrey Hepburn that made you feel like, God, I want to embody a little bit of that. And clothing can do that for you.
Oh, it definitely can. And also make it your own, right? Because every time I look at a piece, like this dress that I'm wearing right now, it was actually way longer. And when I bought it, my boyfriend was like, that looks like a grandma dress. Why are you going to buy that? But I have a seamstress that helps me with all my clothing. So I take it to her and I'm like, I see a vision.
Yeah.
I need it to be like more cinched at the waist. I need it to be shorter.
Yes.
You know, bring in the sleeves, all this, and then the vision comes to life. And sometimes the vision is hard to see for other people. But I always see that vision and I make it my own.
And then you wear it and then you post it and everybody's like, where did you get that? Like, I knew I had the vision.
Exactly.
I knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, everyone always asks me that.
Yes.
And that's like a huge thing now. I feel, especially my generation, you know, we're super tied to these fashion brands.
Yes.
You know, Shein and Fashion Nova. And
Zara.
I haven't.
H&M.
I don't shop at these stores, you know. Zara is a hard one for me because I love their clothing and but it is hard for me to not shop there.
Yeah. And I feel like it's important to have a little bit of a balance. You can't be completely against it and not, you know, have a little, you know, leeway.
Right, exactly. But when I find a Zara piece at the thrift store, then I'm like, oh my God, this is the jackpot, you know? Because I feel so much better about it.
Yes, so cool.
But
and a lot of those companies, by the way, are starting to do resale for their own pieces. which is great.
I actually heard about that.
I've heard about so H&M. I know it's one of the companies that's doing it now. Like people can bring in their old H&M, and they can repurpose a lot of that stuff now, which is a really great idea. I think in terms of like where we are as a generation, where we're going in faster, slow fashion. I think it's a great start. And I think a lot of things still need to change though, right? Like I'm glad that you brought up this generational thing because as a Gen Xer, we still kind of go to malls. You know, a lot of us we're so used to going to the mall and like shopping labels and that kind of thing, and like seeing thrift fashion like not something that we're and some of us are, like me, I'm very comfortable with it, but a lot of us just feel like we're just so used to just wearing like a certain label and having like a certain look. Well, and sticking with it forever without thinking maybe you can find it in the thrift store.
And I think, I don't know if this speaks to you, but I know that there are certain generations that, I mean, if you went through, like, for example, my mom, where she went through a lot growing up, and now she's at a place and she's comfortable where she feels like she can afford to buy better things. I think that also makes her feel a certain way to shop at the thrift, because it's like, I've already worked so hard and I deserve to buy myself this.
Something new.
Something new, something nice.
Higher quality.
Exactly. And I completely, don't want to take that away from anyone.
No, right.
And I think that there's that kind of association with like, well, maybe it brings back a memory of your childhood of like, well, I don't need to shop at the thrift anymore. I'm not coming from that place anymore. I've already made it, right? But really, it's just like the consciousness of the environment and like, what are we doing to like change this? Because fashion is like one of the biggest contributors, of
pollution,
exactly, in the planet.
And you're right. I think a lot of the perception, like there's a perception that when you're thrifting, you're wearing somebody else's clothes and it's used, it's not new. So there is that perception that it's a poor person's place to shop. But for me, for example, although I could afford to buy better, nicer clothes, for me, it's about finding a special piece that I would not find at a fast store, number one, and the quality might be different, might be much better. Might be a piece that's not made anymore, which is super cool to find something you can wear that's not made anymore, and the new fashion houses don't make them anymore. How freaking cool is that, right? Like you can do that. Like you can go thrift and find something that maybe is not done anymore. And just for me, it's also become a social responsibility component in my life. And I think that's where you are as well.
Exactly. That's where I'm at. I mean, when you say about these unique pieces, because people, again, there is that perception that because it's thrifted, it maybe it's like a low quality or a poor person's perspective. When, quite frankly, thrifting, for me, buying vintage is actually way more expensive.
You know what? It is. It
is. Like when I find these really unique, I recently just went to a thrift store in Galveston, and I found, a replica hat that Julia Roberts wore in Pretty Woman with the brown dress, because I want to create that look. I already have the dress, and I've been wanting to find the hat.
That is iconic. Really? Yes. I can't wait to see it.
So I found the hat, and when my boyfriend saw the price, he was like, are you serious? But it's not cheap. I mean, when you find these really unique pieces, especially if it's a really great quality, you think about how long I found a Kate Spade original skirt from like the 1970s.
Oh my goodness.
And it was in perfect condition. So you think about the quality of that material and how it's been able to be preserved all these years. It tells you everything about the quality. So
the manufacturing, the time,
and it's not, necessarily cheap.
Right.
It's definitely more expensive, but it's worth it because I know I'm going to have that skirt for generations and maybe pass it down to my future daughter.
See, that's the part that I feel like we need to really change mindsets of the ladies nowadays and look at fashion in the sense of like, there's a higher mission out there for us, and not just in the way we dress, but our approach to clothing as a whole. Just the approach to styling ourselves, to embody a certain look, a signature look for ourselves, and to be proud of it and feel good about it. Not just, following the trends, which are so typical now. They'll pull them up on Instagram, and there's a trend. Okay, let's follow that trend. Let's go with it. Even if it doesn't work on your body, some people will still do it. And there's a few trends that are out there that I'm just like so annoyed with, because it's like, no, ladies, it doesn't work for everyone. Like really find something that makes you feel really confident about you. And for you, I'm guessing it's like older vintage pieces, right?
Definitely. I like this conservative style, but I also don't want it, like if it's going to be like covered right here, you know, I'll obviously make it a little bit shorter here, but I like to have that balance and embody that classic look, you know,
classic look,
that classic conservative look, but obviously not be like totally covered from head to toe.
Do your friends know that you like to thrift shop? Do you let people know that that's your your go-to thing?
My friends always ask me where I buy my pieces from, and even on when I post on Instagram, everyone's like, "Where'd you get that piece from?" And I'm always like, thrift store, and people are shocked, usually shocked because they like, "Oh, send me the link," you know, they thinking that I bought it from, you know, some website.
Or are they asking, are you not doing well at work? Why are you shopping there?
I think now it's definitely way more, you know, acceptable. In that sense. But people always, I think they always kind of use this excuse of like, well, I never find anything good.
Right.
And that's really like a lot of my friends, they'll be like, I need to go thrifting with you because when I go, I never find anything good. And I'm like, maybe you're not looking right, girl, because every time I go, I find amazing things.
So we're going to get to that at the end, where we're going to give them some tips on how they can find a little bit of that. But what are some of your favorite places to find some treasures? Give us some places that you like to go to here in Houston.
So there's a place called Cargo that's in East End. I like that place. I actually like to go to thrift stores that have a deeper purpose. So there's one in League City called ICM. It's like missionary Christian faith.
Okay.
And all their thrifting goes towards like domestic violence victims. So that store, obviously Salvation Army, right there in Washington. I actually wrote down a few, but there's going to be a new thrift store that's going to come to East End on Robert Street, which I'm really, really, really excited for because she has super unique vintage pieces.
Oh my gosh.
And it's called the Houston Vintage Market. So I actually went to her shop yesterday. It'll be at 201 Roberts.
Okay, perfect.
And she has she's been collecting vintage clothing for 40
I can't wait to
plus years and has never sold a piece. So I walked in there and I felt like I was in my dream. It was amazing, the pieces that she had.
So she collects for herself, and now she's decided to sell.
She's been collecting all these years. I think with the intention of maybe one day opening up a vintage piece. But I think she has, close to probably $1 million in inventory. Like, she's been collecting for so many years. Extremely unique pieces. Extremely unique. So Buffalo Exchange is also another one.
Yes, I love going there. Montrose.
There's a place called Positively Grand Resale Mall, and that's like in Santa Fe area. And I just discovered Chai Moons in Galveston. So I like to go to more small vintage thrift stores.
Okay.
In the sense of maybe they're not like well known, like Goodwill, everyone knows about it, Family Thrift, all these big names. I really like to find these like small thrift stores that are maybe not very well known.
Right.
And especially when I'm traveling, I always make it a point to look for a thrift store. So
I do too.
This past weekend, I was in Marfa for my friend's wedding, and I went thrift shopping, because when you go to these small towns, you just never know what you can find. I remember I went to Denver, and I found like a unique original dress in the 1950s. Yeah. Because I went to a random thrift store in the small town in Denver called Pegosa.
My friends, I want to introduce to you the Vanguard Agency. They are fit for Texas. They are in the business of helping people to save money. For all of insurance needs, the Vanguard Agency cannot wait to work with you. Get a quote for your home, get a quote for your auto, a quote for your business and restaurant. They are ready to shop your insurance policies with top-rated insurance companies. Go see my friend Humberto Garcia. He's been in the business a long time and makes an effort to make your insurance policy needs as seamless as possible for all of you. Tell him you heard about them here when you call him at 281-453-8770. They speak Spanish, and I know they will take care of you. Y'all, nothing beats a healthier ride than a 45-minute spin class at CycleBar West U. Y'all know I've been on a journey of health and wellness. My doctor recommended that I do cardio to improve my blood pressure. It's been high and I have hypertension, and nothing has worked better than the CycleBar West U class. I'm telling you, CycleBar has the smart bikes. They will calculate your distance and your calories. The music's great. The vibe is great. The lighting is amazing. And the trainers really want to make you have that amazing experience. I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but if you wanted to, you can ask for your favorite workout songs. They want this to be about you. They want you to have the best experience possible. And by the way, I am letting you know now that they have a new Rider 3-pack for only $49. Amazing. You'll find them at 3233 Southwest Freeway. Or you can also reach out to them at 713-677-0477. And their email is westu@cyclebar.com. Ask for Guillermo. He's going to take care of you. If you don't do anything else for the rest of the day and you do the CycleBar West U class, I'm telling you, you're going to walk out and you're going to feel like a badass.
Wow. So every time I shop, every time I travel, I definitely recommend go to thrift stores in that area, and small thrift stores are like maybe like mom and pop brand.
For sure. I love that too. I have one that I go to all the time. It's a Designer Diva. I don't know if you've been there yet. It's like a big warehouse.
Where is that at?
That's over here in Spring Branch, not far from here actually. If you take the Beltway and exit.
Check it out.
Yeah. So I've gone there a few times because I always find something that I like, and I've been finding really good designer, like French designer stuff there, like really cool jackets, a few dresses that I like to wear. You know, I have a particular style too, so it's also quite unique in me finding things at these thrift stores that actually fit me too and my body type. So, you know, for me, I always go in there with like this intention. This is what I'm going to look for, and this is what I'm going to find. And I don't just go in there and just looking around for like, let's see what pops. I always have like an idea in my head of what I'm looking for next. For example, I've been looking for a red skirt for a while, just because I have a lot of like stuff with red. And for me, color is like, I love color. I love bright, bold
colors.
I do too. Colors. Love bright, bold colors. And then my style is also a little sexy, a little sensual. You know, I like things that are like low cut and like fitted on my body. That's always been me. So once I go there and I find a thing, I always realize that it's either too small or it's just not fitted for my body type. So the other thing that I always recommend is have somebody that you can go to tailor your stuff, especially when you're buying thrifted.
Definitely. That's like
something you mentioned earlier too. That's something you do.
I have a seamstress that I work with on a regular basis because as a performer, I'm always, you know, have different outfits that I'm performing in. So she actually helps me with all my performance outfits, and then even like my personal outfits as well, you know. So I take all my things to her. But even the thing about it with thrifting, you know, you're gonna have to obviously spend on getting it tailored, and sometimes that kind of turns people away. But for me, because I'm so short, even if I were to go and buy something online or, you know, fast fashion, quote unquote, I'm gonna have to get it tailored anyways because I'm so short. So like if I buy pants, I'm gonna have to get them hemmed. If I buy a dress, it's probably gonna be too long on me. So I'm already used to that experience of getting things tailored. So it's really not anything new for me to go and ask her to, you know, take this in.
And honestly, even when you buy fast fashion, whatever fits perfect. Like
exactly.
What? Really, right? Like all the body types are so different, but in fast fashion, you have to make everything kind of like universal. So a large has to fit a large, a medium, and a small. So usually I go with like a medium, but a lot of times the medium is either too big or too small. Like, so honestly.
I'm like a schmedium, you know? Like right between small and medium.
That's a good one, schmedium. Is there like a particular fashion influencer or thrifter that you follow and that like inspires you, or, you know, you like their style, like you can share with us?
I wish there was more fashion influencers, to be honest with you. And I think that
in this realm, because there's 1,000, like
there's
millions,
1,000 influencers.
But in this particular,
in this realm, I wish there was more. And if there are more, please let me know, because I would love to find, you know, more influencers who are specifically talking about, you know, thrift fashion,
Thrift. I just heard a word.
Thriftfluencers.
Thriftfluencers.
I do follow this YouTuber. Her name is Kristen Leo, and she talks a lot about how to quit fast fashion. So that's a YouTuber that I would definitely recommend to watch. There are two people I follow on Instagram. I wouldn't call them fashion influencers, but they definitely have a large platform and they bring a lot of awareness to thrifting. One of them is Sophia Esperanza, and she actually is from Houston. She went to HTVA as well, and
that's great.
now she lives, I believe, in Canada, but she's actually a super activism when it comes to veganism. So she's a straight up vegan. All that she posts about is like being sustainable, and she recently just started a thrift fashion movement. It hasn't fully launched yet, but I know she's always talking about. Right. She actually used to be a model, so she was a model for all these like big brands, and she talked a lot about how she had this disconnect with being a model and realizing that like she was modeling for all these brands that were doing all these harmful things to the world, and her being vegan was just like wasn't aligning. So she quit modeling, and now she's just like super focused on like bringing more awareness to like the environment and like being sustainable. So wow. I really am inspired by her. And then there's also another girl named Gabriella Smith. She had a TED Talk.
Gabriella Smith, she sounds very familiar to me.
I believe she's from Florida, but she had a talk about quitting fast fashion, and her IG is focused on her. She also has like a movement called Upcycle Fashion, and she talks about a lot about quitting fast fashion and why is it important for the environment. So those are just a few people that I know that are definitely bringing more awareness.
So let's talk a little bit about why fast fashion is affecting the environment, because the amount of clothes that comes out from a lot of these companies like Shine, we talked about them, Fashion Nova, they are creating pieces on such a fast pace, and thousands of pieces are being put out. Not only does that affect the workers that are making those pieces, because obviously a lot of them are underpaid and they come from countries where the circumstances are not so good. It keeps putting out things so that people are constantly changing so that you don't always wear the same thing twice. Like if they catch you wearing that thing in a picture 2 or 3 times, why are you still wearing that? Like, there's fast fashion now. You can go buy yourself. So I bought 2 pieces from Shine just recently because my friend designed a collection for them.
Really?
Alicia, what's her name? Alicia. She's a Lofty Mom. That's her handle. And she's a designer. She's an illustrator. And so she got a collaboration with Shine. So I was like, I'm going to support you. It's really, and the pieces was a top for $16. And then it was a pair of shorts for $12. And I realized why people are purchasing. It's because it's so cheap. It's extremely cheap. So if you consider how much that piece cost, consider how much they're paying the person who makes it. Mm-hmm. Consider the quality of the fabric as well, and I'll support her and I'll pay. I'm not saying like, oh, it was a bad purchase or anything like that. But it made me think, wow, this is why people are going to those sites all the time and buying these things. It's because they're so cheap.
Especially, I think around my age group, everyone is purchasing at these websites. It's really hard to be that one person that's like not shopping on these websites that everyone's shopping on. Mm-hmm. So I tried to live by the model like refuse, reuse, reduce, and recycle. And refuse is like the first thing on there. And I actually coined this phrase was coined by that YouTuber that I mentioned. So refusing really means like when you see these really cheap things online that seem super trendy, you really have to refuse it, because even if it seems so tempting to buy it and it's like so cheap and so cute,
refuse it.
You have to refuse it because it's just there's a more important meaning behind it, And I would recommend viewers to watch the documentary The True Cost that came out in 2015.
I watched it. It's so good.
It is. It's super eye-opening, and you see really what fast fashion is doing to this planet, and that's really what opened my eyes more about the meaning behind thrifting. Because before then, thrifting for me was just a passion about finding these unique pieces. And I think really what's awesome about thrifting is that you're going to find pieces that are so unique that we're not all wearing the same thing. I don't know how many times I've gone to an event and like I have some friends that are wearing the same dress or wearing like the same dress in a different color because they both purchased it online in the same store, So I like the feeling to know that like whatever I'm wearing, it's so unique. No one else is gonna have it. It's been obviously hemmed to my. It's and it's so unique that no one else can wear it. You know, so think about it that way when it comes to thrifting. But
and I think that's a really great way to put it. It's make it your own, make it your signature. That not only are you conserving on the planet's resources, but you're also setting your style. You're giving yourself, because I think a lot of people, you have to look at it from a vanity viewpoint. You know, it's not just. I'm sad to say it, but if you say the social component and the social responsibility and save the planet and like help the earth and like, you know, contamination, they're just going to say, ugh, like so annoying. I'm so done with that. Like that's all people talk about. But if you say, yeah, you can develop your own signature style, like how amazing that you can, you know, have your own piece. Nobody else has it. You're the only one that has it, right? I love that. That's why I have you on today, because I want us to really talk about this more and like really create a consciousness around fashion and the way we dress ourselves and how we see pieces of clothing from now on, right?
Hashtag make thrifting cool again.
That is such a good one. Make thrifting cool again. I love it, because it is like, how do we encourage more of that? How do we get them to like really buy into it?
To really buy into it, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's the how cheap it is. But when you say it's cheap, it's actually cheap in material as well. It's cheap in so many different ways. Like not just the price, but the quality is so cheap. I've had friends who buy things from that website and it breaks like after one time of wearing it. But because it's so cheap, they're like, it's whatever. I'm just gonna wear it one time anyways, and then I'll just throw it away and get something else.
But see, that's the mindset that I'm trying to get to. Like,
right.
why is it okay for you just think, oh, I can just buy it, just wear it one time and throw it out? Where is it going when you're throwing it out?
To landfills, you know. And
but see, their consciousness doesn't go that far.
That far. Well, I think
it goes to, I'll donate it, I'll give it to somebody, or I'll give it away.
I think there's a deeper conversation to be had, because thrifting goes in line with just being more conscious about the entire environment, period. And I think that, unfortunately, us as a society, we're just not conscious about what's happening right now. Like there's even when it comes to food, even when it comes to just trash in general, there's so much. We're destroying the planet. We're literally destroying the earth, and no one seems to care. It's almost like this perspective
Very few people care. And that's the problem.
That's
Very
the problem.
Few.
Because
they're mocked. It's like Greta Thunberg. They mock her over and over and over. So why would they want to be an activist if you're going to be mocked? Right?
It's not very appealing to be that person. You are mocked, and it's like you almost sound like you're like on this like hippie platform, like, oh my God, save the planet, save the earth, you know? And you don't, and it's like the more that it keeps happening, the more that we just, I think it's an out of sight, out of mind kind of perspective that a lot of people have, where they're like, well, it doesn't affect me personally that we're destroying the planet or that I'm buying all these fast fashion, so why should I care? Why should I care? Because I'm doing it, and I'm obviously like reaping the benefits of buying super cheap clothing, and I don't get to see the repercussions of that. Yeah. But it's like on the other side of the world, for every reaction, there's a reaction. So here we are on this side of the earth where, we're consuming. But on the other side of the planet, then they're receiving the short end of the stick, right? Where they're going through
piles of clothes, right?
Exactly. And living in these just inhumane conditions, sweatshops, and how much they're getting paid to make this clothing for us.
I think it's important that, we hone in on that particular part of this whole conversation. Exactly what you're pointing out. We're living here and we see this here, but we're not seeing the other side. We don't, and we refuse to see it. Sometimes we don't want to see it. Because if we see it and then we see that we're contributing to it, it feels shitty. You're like a shitty person now. I don't want to feel like a shitty person now. I don't want to feel like I'm, it's my fault, but it is, because every time we're buying pieces over pieces over pieces over, and I get it, like people want to be like, dressed, and I love fashion myself, but at the same time, I feel like I have a responsibility to my planet, to my earth, to the things everything that I do needs to have a purpose and an intention. Like the way that I drive, like I just got an all electric car. For me, that was another little way for me to just kind of feel like, okay, I'm making some changes. So I think it really can be little small things you yourself can do in your own way. It doesn't have to just be buying thrift. It could be, saving containers or recycling, mending clothes, swapping with your friends. So that's the next part I wanted to talk about, because I wanted to talk about some tips. Let's give our listeners some tips on some things that they can incorporate little by little in their life. Guys, you do not have to do all of these. Do one or two at a time. Right. And if you're comfortable, if you like it, one of the things I do want to recommend, because I do this and I love this and it's been like a really cool thing for me, is Poshmark. I sell on Poshmark and I buy on Poshmark. And I love doing it because I feel like somebody else gets a piece of me, right. A little piece of my history, of my stuff.
And what's good about Poshmark is that you know that your piece of clothing is going to have a home. Yes. Because even when it comes to like even donating to like these big warehouses, unfortunately, there's no guarantee that clothing is not going to end up in the landfills, because they get so much donations that they're going to have to get rid of a lot of it.
It's right.
So there's a highly likelihood that some of that clothing will end up in landfills anyways.
Right.
So Poshmark is a way for you to know that this particular item is going to go to a nice home and someone else is going to use it.
Great point. Mm-hmm. Great point. The other thing I love to do and I love to use is rent the runway, because I love to rent. And there is a component on the dry cleaning there that's not quite, still honed, in the best way. But for me, I do love designer pieces. I mean, I love feeling like I have a designer piece and the quality. I love to feel the quality of a good dress with a great zipper. And that's how I'm able to get some of those dresses without having to purchase and keep them, in my closet.
Especially if you wear them for one special event.
For one special event, which is what I love to do, especially when I travel. And I like to take like very cool pieces for like my photos or like my travel flow, photos. Travel influencer photos. I love going to Rent the Runway because I just wear it for that one time and send it back.
I haven't tried Rent the Runway, but I definitely want to look into it, especially if it's like a really important event that I want something super fancy for.
Yeah, that's usually what they're good for. So what's another thing you wanted to add as a tip?
I would say whenever you're traveling to go to find thrift stores, I think those small mom and pop thrift stores are the best to find just unique pieces.
Great tip.
I would recommend them more than like franchise big names that everyone knows of, but really try to find a thrift store that's small, family owned, or even thrift stores that go towards like a cause, like women who've been battered or homelessness. So I like to find those kind of thrift stores.
Yeah, and the other thing, one thing that I mostly thrift is clothing. I really don't do shoes, but I keep the same shoes for a very long time. I have like funny. A shoe doctor.
Girl, you're preaching to the choir. I get made fun of from my entire family because I will wear a pair of shoes until they're falling apart. Until they're
walking on their own. Until they're walking out the house on their own.
And I know I don't have to do that. Yeah. But I get made fun of constantly because recently I was at like a networking event and thank God that my heels didn't break until after the event was over and I was walking towards my car. But it was like right at that moment where I'm crossing the street and then the heel just breaks.
They were holding on by a thread.
By a thread. And I was like, if those would have break like just 5 seconds before while I was in the event, that would have been so embarrassing. But I was already close to my car that no one saw. So I just got in my car and was like, bye everyone. Mm-hmm. And I get home, my boyfriend was like, why do you wear your shoes till like they're falling apart? Like
that's me.
But it's because you have to be conscious. Like, I don't want to have to keep buying new shoes all the time. So I'm like...
And I buy good quality shoes. That's exactly. The one thing I spend really good money on are my shoes. Like, I spend good money because for me, the make of the shoe, the quality of the leather or whatever it is, the heel needs to be a sturdy heel. Like, there's so many things. I used to wear Payless when I was a little girl and hated them because they stunk. Like, you would wear them and you would sweat just a little bit and they smelled so bad that when I was older and I was like, fuck that. I'm not doing that ever again. I'm going to go buy some really nice designer shoes. So my shoes last me a really long time.
There was a chant in middle school that people would say because, we got made fun of for wearing Payless shoes. And it was like, Payless shoes ain't got no grip. You'll fall down and break your hip.
Oh, my God. That is so perfect. That is like the perfect song for those.
Yeah, so I honestly do believe in buying really high quality shoes as well. But when you have them for 5 years and you've been wearing them so many times, of course, at some point they're going to break.
Yeah, they're going to give up.
They're
like,
gonna,
I can't help you anymore. I'm sorry.
I can't help you anymore.
Yeah, so have a shoe doctor on call. Like I have my shoe doctor. I know where I need to take my shoes. He takes care of them. So that's one thing I really don't buy at thrift store just because I'm very particular about that. But like really when you're thrifting and you're going in there, maybe go in with an idea of what you're looking for so that you're not too overwhelmed because it could be a lot.
Very overwhelming.
Yeah. So maybe if you're saying, I want to buy like a blazer. I have like an interview where I have an event that I need to go to and I want a really nice, sturdy blazer. Like that's a good place to go find one is at a thrift store because that's where I find some really great blazers.
Or I would say too, like if we're talking to people who have never gone thrifting before, it doesn't necessarily have to be clothes because maybe that makes you feel uncomfortable to buy someone else's clothes. Maybe you just buy a thrifted purse or a hat or start off with...
Handbags are a great idea.
Yeah, so start off with another item, so you can get the feel of thrifting and that can be your introduction into thrifting. Even thrifted furniture. There's a place called Hidden Treasures in Pearland and in NASA, and they have amazing quality furniture. My parents buy all their furniture from there, but I mean, solid wood, gently used, it's practically new. So even furniture, I always look for records because I have a record player myself that is also thrifted. So there's just so many unique things that you can find in thrift stores. It doesn't have to be clothing, but let's just start the initiative somewhere.
Yeah. Start small. You don't have to do too much. It's just one little thing you can do. So before we go, Daniela, I want you to tell me, and is it Andrea Daniela or how does your name go? That's all I see, Andrea Daniela.
That's my name.
Okay,
so my full name is actually Andrea Daniela Martinez, but I like to go by Andrea Daniela. I think it just has like a little ring to it.
It does. It's a beautiful name. Very beautiful. So what is your most prized thrifted possession? Like the one thing that you're like, oh my God, I just like love this thing.
I think it definitely has to be that dress that I mentioned that I bought in Colorado. It is just that perfect style, goes out at that flare, it's cinched at the waist, it fits me like a glove. And when I found that dress, it's floral print, it's pink, it's very Andrea. So when I found that dress, I was like, I need to try this on. If it fits me, this is meant to be. And it fit me perfect, perfect. So that's one of my definitely prized possessions. And just the hat that I recently bought, that's also something that I'm going to keep forever. But I do have a lot of unique pieces. And I think just being on this podcast kind of makes me realize the importance of sharing more of that. Because I do try to share it, but I think that I need to do a better job of sharing more about where I find these pieces or maybe letting people know that what I'm wearing is thrifted and put it out there more because there needs to be more influencers, like you said, that are showcasing thrifted fashion.
I agree. I think it's important. I think it's a great way for us to start the conversation, continue the conversation, and maybe get more people talking about it. For me, my most prized possession is a red coat that I bought at a thrift store called What Goes Around Comes Around in New York City.
Ooh, I bet you that's gorgeous. So New York probably has amazing.
Just like you, I love to go to thrift stores when I travel too. I'm just like the same way. I will go to #thrift in New York or wherever I'm going, and I will find the places. And that coat's been with me maybe 15 years now. It's that coat, and then there's another coat, a Donna Karan that I bought there too. And I did spend a price on it. I did spend a little bit, and I just like did it, but
it was worth it.
It is like such a good quality coat, and that one coat I can wear it when I go to Europe and it's freaking cold, and I know it's gonna keep me warm.
Well, it's a good quality.
It's super good quality. It's well made.
Very well worth it.
It's well constructed. It's so worth that money. I think I've gotten my return on that investment for sure. Because it's been at least 15 years, and every time I travel, I take that same coat. When it's super cold, I take that same coat. And I don't care that my pictures are always with that same coat. I'm always with that same coat. But yeah, you can borrow it whenever you want. I love sharing my clothes. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for you to come in today and
Thank you
talk
for
about
having
these
me.
things. You have just given me so many other good ideas of other things that we can talk about in the future. I would love to have you back and just keep on that conversation going.
Yes, I know we talked a little bit behind the scenes as well.
Exactly.
I'm excited. And even for the viewers watching, I mean, if you're not thrifting, let's just be more conscious about the environment in general, recycling, just taking care of our environment and our planet, because the future generations, they want to, they exactly, it's the only one we have. And for our future generations that are going to be living on this planet, I just to think about all the animals that are extinct, think about it's just really sad, honestly.
And if we don't do it, nobody will. Mm-hmm. And if we want to see change in the world, it has to start with us.
And I think people have this perspective of, well, I'm only one person. I can't make a difference. What can I do? What does it matter if I do that? Or what does it matter if I recycle? Like, I know my family since a little girl, I was always like pushing my parents, let's recycle, let's recycle, let's recycle. And they were like, what does it matter? We're the only, like, what difference are we going to make? But if everyone comes together and makes that small difference, it really can make a huge impact. So let's just try to be a little bit more conscious about our planet and take care of it.
And we're going to end with that because that is such a good ending right there. Thank you so much, Andrea Daniela.
Thank you for inviting me.
Love you. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Friends, I must tell you, I know the place to go if you need house audio, TV installation, security monitoring. I am telling you, these people are so good that I cannot wait to share them with you. AVS Concepts is the place to get all of these things taken care of. They're the experts in audio video. If you are entertaining and you need music, call them. If you just purchased a new house and you want to have security, you've got to call them. They are the best at all of this for you. I am so excited to share them with you. They are new sponsors for the podcast. You will not regret having them in your house. They can put anything up and create the most amazing surround sound. I am telling you, when I watch my movies, I like to watch them with surround sound. And thanks to AVS Concepts, I can do that. Follow them at their Instagram account, AVSC_HTX, or you can also find them at their website, avcschouston.com, and tell them that Alicia from Buy and Smile Alicia sent you, and they will take care of you. I promise you.